following is a dead bug documentary. If you're watching it anywhere else than my channel, then some thieving fuck stole it.
Warning, the following program contains scenes of death.
Stacy McCall and Suzie Streeter had just graduated from high school. The two were last seen together around 2 a.m. on June 7, 1991. Leaving a graduation party, the former best friends had planned to have a sleepover at Janelle Kirby's house, but changed their mind last minute because it was too crowded. And that decision would cost them, because they ended up detouring to Streeter's house, while Janelle stayed put. Suzie and Stacy had been best friends in grade school, but now traveled in different circles. But tonight, they would be traveling together. Destination, the abyss. At the exact moment the girls were doing tequila shots at their grad party, less than a mile away, Susan's mother, Sherrill, a single parent, was on the phone to a friend, telling them that she really needed to paint her place. This was at 11:15, the last time she was ever heard from again. The newly graduated had agreed to meet the next day at a water park to enjoy their first day of the summer vacation. Summer vacation now, summer vacation forever, bitches. It was when the two friends didn't arrive at the house at 9 a.m. in the morning, as agreed, that Janelle Kirby got a boyfriend to drive over to Suzie's house, see why her friends had stood her up, and to get their hungover asses out of bed. The first thing that she noticed when she got there was that the dog were barking and the front porch light had been smashed. When no one answered the door, Kirby and her boyfriend entered the house, thinking her friends were sleeping. But although the beds had been slept in, the house was now empty. So her and her boyfriend swept up the broken light and left. When Stacy didn't call her mother in the morning like she was supposed to, her mother became worried and went to the house. When she saw her daughter's car and no one answered the door, she entered the house, and as she walked into the bedroom, she saw her daughter's purse and two other purses neatly lined up. She told detectives that she thought the room smelled like sex, but who can say for sure? Some people are just naturally untidy. And while she was in the house, the phone rang, and she picked it up, and there was a male voice on the other end that told her to play with her breasts, sis, and rub her pussy. And I guess she didn't do it. She just ran from the house because her daughter's friend, and her mother had vanished
into the abyss.
When detectives showed up and were told the two pretty young girls had gone missing, well, that wasn't no mystery. The real mystery was, why'd whoever take the two teenage girls take the gristle? Because why would you take the gristle? when you got the prime rib. Now detectives just had to piece together the social habits of each of the women and dig up their secrets, because everybody's got something to hide. Stacy McCall, was she a little Miss Perfect, clean as a sole on a cripple's boot? No one were climbing on top of her unless they had a wedding ring. And the mother? Well, she dried up a long time ago, and her only companion was cigarettes and a filthy mutt. Her daughter Suzie, on the other hand, had every bad boy in town climbing in and out of her bedroom window. But it was the brother Bart who first came up on the cops' radar. He'd been disowned by the family, hadn't seen them for about 5 years, and had a tumultuous relationship with his mother. And he had a drinking problem, which would explain why he took the gristle, as well as the prime beef. But surprisingly, Brother Bart passed the polygraph with flying colors, and he had an ironclad alibi. So the detectives had to start earning that salary. It was almost 5 months since the girls had vanished into thin air, and the case had already been featured on Unsolved Mysteries, 48 Hours, and America's Most Wanted. And the police, they had to admit to the public that they were no closer to finding those girls than they were on the first day when they were going through the bed sheets, picking up pubic hairs with tweezers. No sign of a struggle, everything left behind. Car keys, purses, even the fucking dog. And the only thing amiss were a broken porch light. Were a goddamn mystery. Detectives figured that it had to have something to do with the girls' high school. A high school that they just graduated from the night they were last seen. But time wasn't a friend to the investigators, because public interest, but most importantly, public funding, were running out. And with rumors that Susan Streeter was involved in satanic cults, lesbian group sex, and the papers leaked a report that her and her ex-boyfriend had been charged for grave robbing and selling the gold in the corpse's teeth, along with another witness coming forward saying that Suzie Streeter was actually the one driving the van that kidnapped the girls to take them away to join her lesbian cult.
The vehicle is identified as a 1964 to 1970 Dodge
But the tip came to nothing, and people were losing their attention quicker than a retard playing a game of Scrabble. But it was one night when the Springfield Three were on the national news that a viewer called in the tip line. And he had a story about how his 19-year-old sister was brutally murdered by a man on vacation in Florida with his family. And by chance, he was also from Springfield. Rob Cox, on vacation with his parents, had returned to his hotel room one night with his tongue bitten off and his eyes scratched out. And as his mother took him to the hospital, he told her that he'd been in a fight and he'd bitten his tongue out himself, but she'd always been suspicious. Suspicions that were confirmed when Zella's body were found raped and brutally murdered just outside of their hotel room in the sewage system. Cox, who were in the army at the time, were arrested and charged for the murder, but later released in 1985 on a technicality and sent back to Springfield. Once back in Springfield, he got a job at a used car joint, where, surprise, surprise, Stacy McCall's father was the manager. He would have seen Stacy on a regular basis, and for a man who had the taste for prime rib, his taste buds would have went fucking mental. When Springfield detectives interviewed Cox, he told them that he couldn't have had anything to do with the girl's disappearance because he was in church that day with his girlfriend. And because girlfriends never lie, the cops had to believe him. Even though Cox, a man trained to kill in the special forces, with a history of abducting, torturing, raping women, a man who once a week drove his car right by the Streeters' family home on his way to church, no doubt seeing Suzie cutting the lawn in that pretty little bikini of hers. It were a couple years later, when I guess love turned sour, and Cox were in jail for raping and abducting another woman. And his ex-girlfriend recanted her alibi and said that she and her ex-boyfriend hadn't been in church that morning.
I know that they're dead. I'll say that. I know that.
That's not a theory.
Yeah, but I know that I just know that they're dead. That's not my theory, I just know that.
Although testimony from Cox himself and witnesses place him in the area of the abduction, Cox continues to play a cat-and-mouse game with investigators, saying he won't reveal the full story of what happened that morning till his mother dies. She's in her mid-80s now. The FBI say he could just be an attention seeker, looking to take credit for someone else's work. So perhaps we'll never know what happened that night.